Broncos country, mile high salute, man. We got 2 new potential all-pro level free agents that we have added in free agency. I'm pumped up. We're going to talk about them, but it is all quiet on the Western front right now. This is currently the sound that you're hearing down at Dove Valley. It's all crickets, baby. It's all crickets, but it's all good. We got the 2 main prize guys we're doing, and now everything's reevaluating. And we're going to talk about why there's no reason to panic because we haven't yet signed a tight end or we haven't yet signed a running back in free agency. There's going to be a lot of options still to come. There's still some out there. There's trades. There's so many different scenarios that take place between now and the draft. And we're going to talk about everything, break it down, and see how you guys feeling. So, guys, if you love Denver sports and if you love the NFL draft, do me a favor, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, like the video, and let us have a good time, baby. Let's do this. All right, so the Broncos free agency moves so far. Let's break this down a little bit, right? We re-signed a couple of our own. We re-signed DJ Jones, 3-year deal, $39 million, $26 million of that guaranteed. When I saw the deal come in initially, I thought it was a little bit of an overpay. You know how I felt about DJ Jones. I thought he was a good player, felt like we can upgrade, still feel like we can. However, given what the market was showing and what other guys that are not as good as DJ Jones were getting, we got a really, really good deal with him. And it's nice to keep a team captain, nice to keep some continuity there along the defensive front. So 3 years, $39 million, $26 million guarantee, very straightforward contract. I don't know who DJ Jones' agent is, but his contract seems to be pretty straightforward. The first one was just like that too, so I like it. And then we also re-signed quarterback Jarrett Stidham. It's a move that I felt like was really under the radar. I really appreciated it. I really liked it a lot. A 2-year deal, $12 million, $7 million guaranteed. Super important to keep as much of that quarterback room from last year together. So glad that we did that. They say the most important position in football is quarterback, and the second most important is backup quarterback. And listen, God forbid, if Bo Nix was out for the season, then we can all safely assume the season's over. But if he gets banged up for a couple games, couple key games, and you need somebody to step in and give you a chance to win, I think Jarrett Stidham does that with his experience, not just in the NFL, but in Sean Payton's offense now entering year 3. So, and I loved what he said. He said it was the greatest quarterback room he's ever been in. He wanted to be a part of it. So you got to love that signing. And then offensive lineman Matt Peart, a little bit surprising to me. I thought Quinn Bailey was going to be someone that the Broncos brought back again. I know he obviously, broke his leg last year early in training camp. And I thought they really liked him to be the swing tackle. He's been somebody we've been grooming for a really long time. But we haven't heard anything about him since. So looks like Matt Peart is the swing. Frank Crum is not necessarily where we need him to be yet. No problem. It's a decent signing. And listen, if Zach Strief wants a guy and he signs off on it, then you know what? I'm all for it, man. Ain't nothing wrong with that. So I dig it. All right, and then the big news from yesterday, we had several videos. We went live, but just to recap, guys, we signed 2 49ers. We are now the Denver 49ers. Safety Talanoa Hufanga on a 3-year, $45 million deal with just $20 million guaranteed. So look at it, guys. Like it's a 2-year deal for $20 million. It's a great deal for a player that has all-pro potential. In fact, he's already been an all-pro. He's a game changer, playmaker on the secondary to pair up with PS2 and to pair up with Riley Moss and, of course, Brandon Jones back there as his safety mate. And my favorite signing, both of these guys were on my top 5 wish list, so I'm thrilled about it. But Dre Greenlaw, man, I think Broncos country is going to quickly fall in love with this player. He's someone that is going to transform the identity of this defense, man. He really, really is. Great sideline-to-sideline player, amazing team captain type of style, leadership, vocal. He brings that dog mentality that I felt like we really needed. So hell yeah, man. I love it. I love it. I'm a big fan of it. And he's going to be awesome. And it was a 3-year deal, $35 million. The guaranteed money part hasn't been released yet. My guess is it's going to be probably, they might have given him a little bit more, maybe 20 to 23 million. Surprisingly, of that would be guaranteed, I think. So I think he'll probably get a little bit more guaranteed than Talanoa Hufanga, even though the total contract amount is not as much. So I love it, man. And Broncos country, I want to know how y'all feeling. It seems like it's overwhelmingly positive. And then today happened. And today, nothing happened. And it really wasn't just the Broncos. It was kind of league-wide. But, it was a little bit quieter. Guys, free agency doesn't even technically start till tomorrow. So let's relax. But some key news in terms of what's happened is that, some targets that we wanted. So obviously we know Evan Ingram came yesterday. Oh, he came Sunday night, spent the day on Monday with Broncos organization. They wined him and dined him the night before. They took physicals, MRIs, all that good stuff. He ends up leaving without a contract signed. Now, it doesn't mean it wasn't a contract offer. But guys, there's like literally a million different things that could have happened with this. So there's no reason to panic. Until you see Evan Ingram has signed elsewhere, he's still obviously a very big possibility. So let's not freak out on that. And you know what, man? If George Payton and Sean Payton, if they drew their line in the sand and they said, this is how much we want to pay him, or something weird came up with the MRI and they didn't like, and it kind of lowered the price or whatever it might be, you've just got to trust that they're making the right decision. What was a little bit surprising for me today is that Juwan Johnson was off the board, re-signing with the Saints. How the hell do the Saints have money all of a sudden? They brought back the Honey Badger. They signed Justin Reed. They're like negative $100 million in the cap. It's crazy. So they'll figure all that out. But Juwan Johnson being off the table is interesting, not because I heard a lot of reports saying the Broncos are probably not going to be very interested in him. So it proved to be true. I don't think that just because there was a Sean Payton connection, he was going to bring him over. But I was surprised by how quickly he came off the table. And I thought maybe that would cause kind of the domino effect, right? You'd see Tyler Conklin go off and you would see Evan Ingram, but nothing's really happened after that. So we still got Conklin and we still got Ingram, the two guys on the wish list for the tight ends in terms of my top 5 tight end rankings. By all accounts and what a lot of reports are saying is the Broncos haven't talked to Tyler Conklin's team at all. I don't know how true that is, but he's definitely somebody that they should think about because I think he's pretty good. Here's the thing. We're falling into this trap as a fan base, myself included, to where it's almost like just sign anybody at this point because anybody is an upgrade. And in a way, that's true, man. I mean, let's face it. Let's face it. Our tight end room is trash. But that's not how you operate in smart football ways. If you're not going to get the right guy, or you don't feel like you're getting good value for somebody, you're not just going to sign somebody to sign someone. That's the old school, after Pat Bowlen, passed away or, stepped down as the owner and the Broncos trust was in charge. That's their way of doing it. But this new ownership group with Sean Payton and George Paton at the helm, it hasn't been operating like that. I don't expect for it to either. You don't just make a desperate move, right? And so they're gonna be patient. They're gonna make sure they're getting as much value, and they're gonna explore an array of different options, array of different, whether it be the draft or free agency or whatever. Now, I do believe the Broncos will definitely have signed a tight end and a running back well before the draft for sure. Because even though I would be okay if they went in there with 2 glaring holes in the draft, just say, you know what, go up, screw it, and get your guys. It's not smart. It's not smart football operations, and it doesn't align with what Sean Payton and George Paton have been doing. You have to keep that into account. It's super important. So they'll explore everything, and they'll make the moves accordingly. Another thing that's really important to think about, guys, is the after effects of the draft, right? So you never know what happens, man. Teams, a player falls to a team, and all of a sudden they have another veteran that they either, release because they're happy with who they got in the draft, or that they put up for trade. It happens every year, all the time. And you can think of a ton of different examples of, what would happen there, right? So yeah, I mean, it could be a lot of things. I'll give you an example, and this is not even a very realistic one, but it's one I'm just thinking of. Let's say at 19, the Buccaneers, they look on their draft board, they see Omarion Hampton's there, and they just love the player. They say, you know what, let's take Omarion Hampton. Now, Rachaad White is maybe somebody that's available via trade, and that would be a hell of an option for the Broncos. So that's just kind of an example of what can happen, right? You heard the trade rumors about Dallas Goedert from Josina Anderson. Josina Anderson talked about the Eagles are looking at getting some sort of draft compensation. They want a 4th-round pick, and they're fine if it's in 26 or 27. I'm good with that, man. I would give up a 4th-round pick next year or in 2027 in a heartbeat for somebody like a Dallas Goedert. But these are all fluid. The more patience that you have, the lower the cost goes on the market. And I think you'll see a lot of moves happen after tomorrow when all these signings become official, because then they can really get all the legal paperwork stuff, take a look at their cap, and, go from there. You never know what's going to happen. So, there's breaking news all the time. I don't know where y'all getting your breaking news from. If it's Twitter, I got all my Twitter notifications on, but I can tell you guys, David Talks Broncos VIP Discord channel. I linked it down below. Y'all got to check this out. It is wildly cool, man. It's free to join for the first month. See if you like it. If you don't, peace out. If you like it, then keep going with it. But awesome group of local, Denver sports media people, just some people doing this part-time, some people doing it full-time. We're all bringing unique perspectives. And what I like about it is we don't all just agree on everything, right? We have a lot of disagreements, obviously very respectfully, but it's great because it gives a lot of different points of view, and it allows for you to see the picture in all sorts of ways rather than just trying to push some sort of an agenda. So come check us out, man. I appreciate it. Like I said, links below in the description. So yeah. All right. So moving on, right? Like I said, and then so talking about the running back positions, right? Somebody that I after yesterday, the running back market really dried up, right? So when you're looking at the guys available, I was intrigued by Ty Johnson. He had just recently signed back with the Bills. So that's not going to work out. Rico Dowdle's still out there, so he's an option. But I don't think the Broncos are probably going to address this position, very heavily before the draft. Because when I know I said the opposite earlier, but I meant to say tight end. Because the thing about running back is there is always running backs that become available. This running back draft class is incredibly good and like historically good. And I can see the Broncos selling the idea and maybe even believing like, hey, we're going into the draft with, we believe in Audric Estime. We believe in Jaleel McLaughlin still and want to see what Blake Watson and Bidet can do. So they can sell that it's not going to be a huge hole. And I think even with those guys, like if they were to say, hey, the starting running backs going into the next season are Estime and Jaleel, and going into the draft, I don't think that it's going to make them be very desperate when it comes to who they're going to choose. I don't think all of a sudden they're going to overdraft Omarion Hampton if they feel like 20 is an overdraft, right? So I don't think it'll make them act wild. So that I don't believe. But if you guys are asking me, between tight end and running back, tight end is a significantly bigger need, significantly bigger for a lot of reasons. First of all, if I told you guys right now, going into the offseason, either we're gonna go into going into the start of the year. So we're starting the year week 1 with the same exact running back room or the same exact tight end room that we have. You're gonna choose the running back room 10 times out of 10 because you might be like, hey, let's see what Estime can do in year 2, right? Let's see what Blake Watson can do. It ain't gonna get much worse. And you have a lot of guys that are currently on the roster that are young, that have potential. They haven't even touched their ceiling yet. They can develop and get better. The tight end room got nobody, and I think everybody's already maxed out. So definitely a much bigger need, in my opinion, for the tight end position. Mark Andrews can become available via draft, right? Like I said, you still have Evan Ingram, and you still got Tyler Conklin, who I think are two very respectable options. Dallas Goedert, we talked about him being available via trade. You never know. There's always going to be guys that could potentially be available that can come in and do their own thing. So stay patient, guys. I expect some news. I would say if you don't hear news from a tight end signing with the Broncos by Friday or Saturday, then we can rehab this conversation. Maybe I'll make another video then if we don't. But I think we're going to. Let's stay patient, man. Let's stay patient. And remember that free agency technically hasn't even started yet, man. Hasn't even started. So what moves do you guys want to see the Broncos make? Give me some realistic options. Give me some dream trade scenarios, something that you feel like is going to be helpful to make you feel better. But how are you feeling overall, man? I think the Broncos arguably have improved their roster maybe more than anybody so far in free agency. And I say that in respect to the value that you're getting back. There's a lot of teams that added a lot of really good players. I think the Commanders have had a really good offseason. Didn't look into like the contract values. But I think the two guys that you get are, low risk. They're really not that big of financial commitments, but the upside is unbelievable. Unbelievable. And I get it. You want to get weapons around Bo Nix because a good run game and a solid security blanket is, the best friend of a quarterback. But you know what else is the best friend? Another thing, the best friend of the quarterback is a defense, a very, very dominant defense. And the defense won a lot of games for us last year, helped Bo out a lot, kept them in the games to be able to make those plays. there's going to be more of that. And where it really helps the Denver Broncos the most and where we struggled is we were unable to control the clock at all last year. I felt like teams always had a better time of possession. We just never could seem to have those consistent or those long sustained drives in any way of in any form of consistency. I think we were like even bottom of the league or among the bottom teams in terms of 3-and-outs. So yes, that does go for the offense as well. But on the defensive side, it helps because if the defense is not allowing for the other team to weigh down the clock and really control the run game and bully them, like you saw, especially in the last month of the season, that's going to help a lot as well on the offensive side of the ball. So Sean Payton trusts himself to handle the offense. And I think he's going to be a lot more diligent and strategic in his approach there, while we just made our defense significantly better. I think we're going to have not just another top 5 defense in the NFL, but we can be vying for the best defense in the NFL next year based on the way it's trending. So good things popping off, guys. I appreciate y'all tuning in, man. I hope you guys spend time with all those people that you love the most. And go Broncos, baby. Let's stay patient. Peace out.